Hi, everyone, and welcome. We've got some folks logging in, so we'll give just a quick minute for everyone to get all logged in, and then we'll get started. All right. Continuing to see some more folks getting all logged in here. Thank you for joining us, and we're looking forward to presenting the back to school refresher for our digital assessment library customers. Okay, it looks like it's slowed down, so I think let's go ahead and get started. So, hi and welcome to today's webinar, a back to school refresher for DALS. My name is Kim Elizondo, and I'm the East Region Sales Manager here at Pearson. I'm going to help monitor the Q&A during today's session. And I'm excited to introduce our presenters, Theo Moran and Tyler Vassar, for you. Both are school psychologists and serve as assessment consultants here at Pearson. Theo and Tyler are phenomenal consultants. They're deeply knowledgeable, incredibly supportive, and truly passionate about helping our educators and students thrive. They're excited to help you make the most of your DALS subscription and ensure you feel confident and prepared heading into the school year. Please note that the chat is disabled for this webinar. If you have any questions, please be sure to type them into the Q&A box during the session, and we'll do our best to answer them live, time permitting. If your question is not addressed during the presentation or you'd like to speak with a representative, please fill out the follow-up form in the link that will pop up after the webinar. Certificates of attendance will automatically be emailed to you within a couple of days. And as noted in the registration, you must participate for the full 45 minutes to be eligible for your certificate. And with that, I'm going to hand things over to Theo and Tyler.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Kim. Well, hello and welcome everyone. We're really happy that everyone could join us today for a DALS back to school refresher. I assume most of us today are already subscribers to the Digital Assessment Library for Schools. There may also be some folks who might just be exploring the DALS subscription and maybe just want to learn a little bit more about its benefits. So today our goal is really to review everything that a DALS subscription can do for your district. We want to maximize the value of the subscription and help equip you to make the most out of it. We'll also review different ways that you can manage your account more effectively and autonomously. With that said, let's go ahead and get started. So here's our agenda for today's webinar. We're going to give some context into exactly what the DALS is. Then we'll explain our platforms and how you can use DALS and all of its included resources. Then we'll talk about some of the additional features such as hassle-free ordering and training opportunities. And by the time we leave you today, we hope that you'll gain a good sense of the resources that you'll have available to you this coming year and also pursue further training to maximize those resources. Finally, we'll also cover a few quick new things coming to DALS and to Pearson at the end. All right, so what is DALS? Well, the Digital Assessment Library for Schools offers an annual site license that grants your entire district access to a collection of over 40 different assessments that are utilized by various different professionals like school psychs, SLPs, educational diagnosticians, SPED teachers, OTs, PTs. You get unlimited usage, and it provides your district to address all different types of referral questions. And then you can then employ any necessary tests as frequently as you need within many examiners as necessary. Your district will get access to our expanding digital library featuring right now over 40 of our top assessments. You'll get unlimited utilization of the Q Interactive platform, unlimited usage of the Q Global platform. You'll have access to training modules and support for both Q Interactive and Q Global, and tailored support to meet your district's specific needs and requirements. All right, so as you know, the DALS is comprised of our two separate platforms. It's Q Global and Q Interactive. So let's take a quick look at each of those platforms. So first we have Q Global. Now, Q Global is a web-based platform that facilitates scoring, reporting, and the administration of various self-administered assessments like the questionnaires and rating scales. These would include different assessments like the BASC 3, the Beck Youth Inventories, Vineland 3, the Brown EFA. The system is going to allow for on-screen administration or the ability to send these links via email to teachers or parents for completion without any physically delivered paper formats. Furthermore, it offers a resource library with access to digital manuals, stimulus books that you can use for one-on-one or even telepractice testing, along with many other digital assets. So, who typically uses Q Global? Well, here's a list of the most frequent users: school psychs, SLPs, sped teachers, school counselors use them, in different states that employ educational diagnosticians. They use it. Early childhood folks have access to assessments, social workers, occupational therapists, and physical therapists. So if your role is on this list, it's good to have an account because you'll have unlimited access to everything that's in Q Global, and you'll reap many benefits from using this platform, as we'll see in a bit. All right, so this graphic shows some of the more widely used assessments that are available on Q Global. You'll see some of the gold standards like the BASC, Vineland 3, the Sensory Profile 2, SSIS, SEL Edition, the Beck Youth Inventories, and the Brown Executive Functioning and Tension Scales. We also have what we call the MHS portfolio, which is an optional add-on to the digital assessment library for schools. So Pearson carries select MHS assessments available on Q Global, making them accessible to DALS users who opt in. So compared to paying the $5.75 or $5 per use for the Connors 4 and the ASRS respectively, this add-on is going to give users unlimited use. It really makes a lot of fiscal sense if your evaluation teams are regularly using these different two assessments. All right, moving on, we've got our Q Interactive platform. Now, Q Interactive utilizes two iPad devices for conducting interactive assessments like the WISC 5, the CELF 5, the Wyatt 4, and the KTEA 3. It's in a one-on-one testing environment. So both the practitioner and the student will be using the iPads for the assessments, which are all scored as you go. So it gives the practitioner immediate results, and it allows for any edits in the test battery if needed while you're testing. Also, when testing on the iPads, you don't actually need an internet connection. The two iPads are going to communicate through Bluetooth. Once you're finished testing and then you have internet connection, you'll sync that assessment back to the Q Interactive dashboard for further analysis and all the reporting options. Here's a list of some of the different assessments available on Q Interactive. Again, you'll see some of the popular ones like the WISC 5, the Wyatt 4, KTEA 3, CEL 5, the Goldman Fristo, among others. You'll also see on there, there's a few new ones that we just launched, like the WACE 5 and the DCAFS Advanced. Now, another benefit of DALS is that whenever a new assessment is published to Q Interactive, you're going to get automatic access to it when it becomes available through the subscription. Now, this is also going to include any of the starter kits and the response forms that you would need for administration. It's all part of the package. Now, as you can see, Q Interactive can also be used by a wide variety of different professionals, as you kind of see at the list: the school psychs, SLPs, sped teachers, ed diags, and early childhood. There's a lot of different interactive assessments that all those different practitioners can use within the schools. All right, DALS basics. So let's talk about the basic elements of the digital assessment library for schools. So what do you get with the dolls? Well, did you realize that you always get unlimited Q Global scoring and reporting for available assessments with that option? For example, even though tests like the Wyatt 4 or the KTEA 3, they're on Q Interactive, but you still have scoring and reporting rights on Q Global for any evaluators that might need to administer these tests, the old paper pencil version. You're also going to have access to printable questionnaires and rating scales through your Q Global resource library. And you have digital access to all the manuals and the stimulus books. And again, like I had said before, you'll receive all the response booklets and starter kits for all the Q interactive assessments at no additional cost. All right, the next few slides are going to be a quick demonstration video of how to access some of the different digital assets and materials that we have on Q Global and on Q Interactive. So first, let's look at where to find some of the digital manuals, stimulus books, and printable forms on Q Global. Okay, so after you log in, you're going to just go to the resource library, which I just clicked on. It's going to bring you to the resource library. First thing we're going to do is we're going to look at printable forms. I'm going to go ahead and pick out the FAST3 parent form in Spanish. It's always going to make sure that you agree with the terms and conditions. Just hit accept, and it'll bring you to this page, which is the actual digital copy of the rating scale. You'll be able to print these out, and this can be used for any parents that may not have access to internet or technology. All right, next, let's go ahead and look at the cell 5. And we're going to look at some of the digital assets in terms of the stimulus books. So if you're ever doing like teleassessment or you want to give tests from Q Global, you're able to do that here. This is basically going to be a digital copy of the stimulus book, and it'll go through all the different subtests that are in there. You see the little gray arrows on there. You can navigate really easily going from slide to slide, and you can make this full screen when you're doing assessments with kids. Okay, now let's go back to the main resource library. And what we'll do now is we'll check out manuals. So we're going to look at the Bailey 4, and we'll check out the Bailey 4 Administration Manual. And click on it. It'll pop up. And this is just going to be a digital copy of the manual. So you have access to it anytime, anywhere. It's cool because you can just go to the table of contents and you can find what you're looking for. Just click on it. It'll bring you exactly to that page. So that's kind of a quick overview of what you can do within the resource library. And it's great because you're able to do that basically anytime, anywhere you have internet connection. All right, so the next video is a demonstration of how to send forms to respondents through Q Global. So I'm going to go ahead and start that. And we're going to just pick a user or a client that we already had, and we're going to give them the Vineland. We're just going to go ahead and do a link via email that we're going to send to the parent to do. You're just going to go to continue to email, and then you can either do it with an email service or you can send it through Q Global. Sometimes people like to use the email service from Q Global because it gives you templates and everything. Sometimes if you're worried about things getting blocked, you can use your own email, your own work email as well. You'll just copy that link and you're able to put it in your own email, and you can email it to the parent just through that. Finally, here's a brief video of where you can find the digital manuals in Q Interactive. So once you log in to Q Interactive, you'll be on this page and you'll just click the support tab, and then you'll go to test materials, and you can see the whole list of all the different manuals that are in there, as well as other digital assets as well. Again, it's pretty easy. Once you log in, you're just going to go to the support tab. Right. So now let's talk about ordering additional materials. So now that you have your DALS account, you have access to so much that sometimes you might even forget what you actually have access to. We don't want you spending money on items that you already have access to. So we're going to provide a couple simple steps for you to check your account prior to ordering any new materials. All right, so here's a simple three-step process for ordering when you have a DALS account. First, you want to get out your DALS guide, and you're going to end up turning to page 6. We'll go through that step here in a second. Second, we have no charge order forms, which you'll complete and send to customer service or to your assessment consultant. And then last, you can build your own quotes for any additional items that you might need. All right, so our first step is to check page 6 of our DALS guide, which you can find right on our website at pearsonassessments.com. You can just type in DALS in the search bar and then go to the DALS product page. We're going to go ahead and post a link to the 2025 DALS guide in the chat. And you can bookmark this, you can download it, or if you want to, you can even print it for quick reference that you can check throughout the year. All right, so as I showed you before, a DAL subscription is going to give you access to all the assessment manuals and stimulus books right on Q Global. So you do not need to order any of those since they're all readily available to you online, and it's super easy for your clinicians to access. Just hop on your Q Global account and check it out there. And second, all the different assessments that are in Q Interactive, you can just go to the support tab and you can get access to all the manuals there as well. Okay, now if we look at page 6 in the DALS guide, this is a little snippet of it on the page here, you'll see that there's a column for both digital stimulus books and digital manuals. So if there's a check next to the test, again, encourage your clinicians to access these digitally rather than ordering any paper versions of them. It's all included in your DALS subscription. Now, the next component that we talked about earlier are the record forms and protocols for tests that can all be administered through on-screen administration. There's so many different tests that can be administered completely through Q Global without needing any paper record forms or protocols. Here's a list of all the different tests that you have access to. And you might notice some of the forms that I showed you early, like the BASC-3, or you might notice some tests that can even be given directly from Q Global with a student in the room. Examples would be like the new Bot 3 or the Bailey 4. Both of these tests can be completely administered on Q Global in lieu of using a paper record form. All right, so back to page 6 of the DALS guide. We'll find a column on this screen that's going to show what's on-screen administration or remote on-screen administration. So if the column is checked next to your test, again, don't order those forms. They're already available to you for administration online, either right in your office with the informant, or better yet, you can just send an email link to the informant and they complete it remotely. Okay, as we mentioned earlier, you'll have some families who maybe don't have reliable access to email or maybe don't feel comfortable entering information online, and maybe they need a printable protocol. Again, like we covered, you don't need to order these protocols because they're just accessed through your Q Global account in the resource library, and you'll just download those and print them out, and then you can give a paper copy to teachers, to parents, or even to students. All right, so again, on page 6 of your DALS guide, this is going to show you if there is a printable form available for the test that you need. So again, if there's a check next to it, you don't need to order it. It's available to you on Q Global. All right, I am going to turn over step 2 to Tyler to talk about the DALS no charge order forms.
Thanks, Theo. I'm having a bit of a bandwidth issue today, so I've turned off my video to make things go a little bit more smoothly for me on my end here. So I apologize for that. But I'm happy to take over here and talk about our no charge order forms. So people who are already familiar with Q Interactive know that it foregoes the need for record forms as you don't need them to administer an assessment on Q Interactive. However, there are some assessments that still require those physical response booklets or those forms that are filled out by the student. If there is a corresponding response booklet for an assessment that's available on Q Interactive, that response booklet will be available to order at no charge with your DALS subscription. Here you can see a list of the assessments that you can order starter kits for, as well as response booklets. So please note that the WIPSI 4 starter kit does come at an additional charge due to the manipulative set that it includes, but the response booklets don't. So you can see here that you're getting quite a few paper materials included with your digital subscription as well. As you will be able to see on page 6 of our DALS guide in the Q Interactive blue column, if you see that check mark there, you'll know that it's available on the no charge form. And it's important to note that these are not included on quotes or on purchase orders because customer support does not know how to automatically give those items to you at no charge. So instead, we have a different process for placing these orders. We're working on getting a link posted into the chat that will take you to a handout that will have a link, another link to a web page where you can order no charge response booklets. The website will look like this that you can see here on the screen. You can access the no charge DALS complete form here, and you can also submit that completed form on this website as well. All you need to fill out the form is your district name, your Q Interactive account number, and the quantity of each item that you need. And please note that it can take about 10 to 15 business days to ship that material from the time that they're ordered. As a friendly reminder, your district's Pearson account number and Q Interactive account number are the same, so you can use them for both purposes. All right, so last but not least, steps 1 and steps 2 probably covered most of what you need, but let's say there are a few remaining items on your shopping list for this school year that aren't included with your DALL subscription. We would now proceed to step 3, which is to build a quote, and you can do this in a few different ways. You can build the quote online through pearsonassessments.com, and you would need to set up a sort of like an online shopping account, so to speak, just like you would for any other online store with a profile that's linked to your district. And there's a cart option up at the top right-hand side of the screen. When you're ready and you have all of your items added to your cart, you can click on it and it will save and build a quote for your district that you can provide to your purchasing department. However, if you still prefer to do things maybe a little bit more old-fashioned, you can always email your designated Pearson representative. We're working on getting a link for that as well, but you can just Google Pearson Assessment Consultant, and it'll be the top option on Google to where you can go to our webpage that lets you know where where your assessment consultant is. So we cover a handful of states, each of us, but we're always happy to help you guys out. But to avoid errors on these quotes, please present them with the following information: your billing and shipping address, the name of the item quantity that you need, as well as the ISBN. You can find that under the product name on our website, and you can see here it's a little highlighted on the screen. That's a super important piece of information when you're requesting a quote that you give to us, because there are multiple products that can be listed under the same kit name that might just have a tiny bit of a variation between them. So providing that ISBN lets us know exactly what you want to order. Your DALL subscription gives you unlimited access to Q Global, as Theo mentioned, and sometimes our kits include free Q Global scoring for a year for our non-DALS customers. But you don't need that because you already have unlimited Q Global scoring with your DALL subscription. So when you're placing orders or you're requesting quotes, please make sure to not do the ones with that free Q Global scoring, as our support team won't be able to apply that to your Q Global account, the DALS one, because you already have unlimited scoring. And so what happens is it has to go back to a quote process where we quote a different kit, the print one, and obviously you would then have to issue a new PO. And so it can create a significant delay in ordering. So instead, you're wanting to look for those kits that have the print next to them that you can see highlighted here in green. So while the Digital Assessment Library for Schools, or DALS, includes unlimited access to both Q Interactive and Q Global, and most of our assessments are now available digitally through Q Interactive, there still are some tools that must be administered using paper and pencil. In many of these cases, the scoring and reporting can still be done through Q Global, which is included in your DALS subscription, but to actually administer the test itself, you might still need a physical kit and response booklets or record forms. And so that's where the DALS Plus add-on comes in. So let's take a look at the benefits here, which would include free response booklets and no charge for all eligible assessments included on the chart, as well as no charge for record forms for each of these tests that are included. And if your district does not have the DALS Plus, you can email your consultant directly for a quote. And the last thing I do want to mention is that 65% off any eligible print kit and free shipping on those kits. And so one of the questions that we commonly get asked is, can I get a discount on Pearson products with a DALL subscription? And Thea, if we can move forward one more here, that question, right? What can I get a discount on with my DALL subscription? And the answer to that is that only the DALS Plus add-on grants that discount for kit purchases. And I also want to note that assessments that are part of the DALS and DALS Plus libraries are the only assessments that this discount can be applied to. So they have to be part of either the DALS library or DALS Plus to be eligible for that 65% discount. And if you are one of the lucky clinicians whose district has opted into DALS Plus, you'll have access to the additional DALS Plus order form that's available on that page that I mentioned recently. You'll submit it in the same exact way that you submit the standard DALS form, but please note that these two forms are different. They do contain different sets of materials. So if your district does have the DALS Plus add-on as well, please be sure to look through both of those forms when you're placing your no charge orders to make sure that you're accessing that full range of eligible items. And I do want to note that this DALS Plus order form is only available to those that have purchased the DALS Plus, so you can't use it if you don't have that add-on. You would have to instead build a quote online or reach out to us for items that are not included with your standard DALS subscription. And again, like I mentioned, if you're unsure of whether your district has this add-on or you'd like to explore adding it, please feel free to reach out to your personal Pearson assessment consultant. We're always happy to answer questions and help you explore additional options here. And so now we are going to move on to training. And so we offer a variety of different options here for DALS and non-DALS districts, but let's take a look at what the DALS offerings are. Because we want to make sure that you and your team are set up for success. So you'll find links to all of the trainings I'm about to mention in the DALS Back to School handout that we'll be able to get over to you. And it includes links to free training modules. So we have on-demand training modules for both Q Global and Q Interactive, specifically catered for DALS users. These modules walk you through setting up your account, creating new clinician accounts, administering and scoring assessments on both platforms, and most clinicians find these modules are pretty sufficient for getting started in managing that day-to-day usage. In addition to that, oftentimes when we have a product launch or we want to feature an author, especially when we're releasing new tools, we'll host in-depth product webinars, sometimes featuring those authors themselves. And these sessions walk through what's new and provide usage guidance and kind of let you know what you can expect whenever you're starting up with a new assessment. And so next, we can talk a little bit about the paid professional development option in order to maximize your investment here with the DALS. So if we can take one step forward, Theo, to the next slide here. Investing in professional development ensures you're getting the most value out of your tools that your district already knows. We want you to feel confident and improve consistency in administration and ultimately improve outcome for students. And so whether you're rolling out a new tool or simply want to ensure consistent use across your department, we do offer live training sessions designed for maximum impact. And they're available virtually or in person. And they're designed for groups of around 30 or so clinicians. It could be less than that, but we max it out at around 30. And they're offered in 3-hour or 6-hour formats. Obviously, the longer presentations are going to cover more material in depth. And they're led by certified trainers with deep product expertise. And new this year, we're now offering per seat training sessions. So this is a cost-effective solution for smaller teams, smaller districts, or maybe you're onboarding a few new staff members. They're pre-scheduled sessions that we host regularly throughout the year for our various products and platforms where your clinicians can register individually without needing to coordinate for a full group. So this is an excellent option if you're hiring new clinicians mid-year, or maybe you only have a handful of staff that are using a particular tool and you want flexibility without sacrificing the quality of the training. You can view upcoming training events and request custom sessions through the training services page that's linked in the back to school guide. And we're always also certainly happy to answer any questions you have. So reach out to your assessment consultant about training and we can discuss what the best options are for your district. And so now that we've covered that, let's talk a little bit about what's new and upcoming from Pearson, because we're always looking to enhance and add more value to the DALS and DALS Plus. So let's take a look here. The first thing that I wanted to mention is the new Revibe product from Pearson. Known as Revibe, which is short for reminder vibration, this wearable device learns user strengths and personalizes to their needs. Delivers personalized vibration and text reminders that enhance focus and attention by bolstering self-regulation. Data is securely collected both actively and passively and is analyzed through an AI assessment platform offering clinicians, educators, and caregivers actionable insight and informed decision making, monitoring progress, and tailoring interventions to each user to, again, help to improve student focus and attention. We don't have quite enough time to do a deep dive on Revive today, but if you are interested in learning more, we can hopefully provide a link in the chat for that, or you can just Google Pearson's Revive and it'll take you to our dedicated Revive webpage. Next up, let's talk about the WACE 5, which was published in September of 2024, most recently, and it is widely considered to be one of the most comprehensive tools available for assessing adult cognitive ability. It includes updated norms, new subtests, and improved interpretive features to support a wide range of clinical, educational, and vocational applications. If you've been using Q Interactive, you actually already have had access to the WASTE 5 so far for this year, and response booklets are included with your DALS subscription. If you don't already have a block set, you can also order one of these at no cost. The only component that's not included in the DALS subscription is the physical kit itself, just because you don't need that because you can assess through Q Interactive when you're completing those high school evaluations. But if your district has DALS Plus, you are able to obviously order that at 65% off with free shipping if maybe you have a practitioner that's more comfortable with paper pencil than the iPad system. And then next we will look at the Wechsler Memory Scale, 5th edition, which is designed to assess a wide range of memory functions in individuals aged 16 to 90. So again, more of those high school evaluations that you might be doing, and will be released on Q Interactive later this year in September. Like the WASTE, the WMS5 offers full administration, scoring, and reporting capabilities on the platform. If you have a DALS subscription, you can order the response book as freeze at no charge as well to accompany that digital use. And then, as I mentioned with the WASTE and these other assessments they're going to be speaking about, the physical kits are available for purchase at full price if you are just a DALS district, but if you have the Plus, you would get the 65% off. The next assessment that I'm super excited to talk about is the very newly released DCEFS Advance, which was published in July of this year. It is a digital-only update to the DCEFS system for ages 8 and up, and it's available exclusively on Q Interactive. It eliminates the needs for physical protocols or kits, and it's covered fully by your DALS subscription. The all-digital format enhances clinical sensitivity and process-based assessment while streamlining administration, scoring, and data capture. Next, we're moving on to the BOT3, which is one of the most widely used motor assessments for occupational and physical therapists across the US and was released recently last year in June of 2024. Now, unlike the BOT2, the BOT3 has now digital administration options on Q Global with the digital record form. If your practitioners have a Q Global account through DALS, they can access a digital record form to guide administration, and the student response booklets are included with your DALS subscription. However, there is one thing that I want to note as one critical component is not included with the subscription, which is the manipulative set. They are required for administration, and those BOT3 manipulatives are not compatible with the BOT2 set, so you would need to order one of those. The BOT3 manipulative set can be ordered separately from the full kit, and then you'll be good to go for assessing. You don't need to purchase the full kit if you are going to use the Q Global system, but if you choose to, pricing will vary. DALS Plus districts can receive that kit at the 65% off free shipping, and actually the cost of that full kit is less than what the price of the manipulative set is that doesn't qualify for that discount. So financially, if you have the DALS Plus, it actually makes more fiscal sense to go with that. And then you would also have a physical easel, a physical manual for use and throughout the district as well. Without DALS Plus, the manipulative set has to be purchased at full price as well as the kit. And now we're moving on to the next assessment in the OTPT arena, which is the Movement ABC3, which was released in January of last year. Like the BOT3, a manipulative set is required for assessment, but unlike the BOT3, the MABC3 does not have a digital record form. If your district has DALS Plus, you would be able to get the kit at 65% off, and the record forms would be included at no charge because the MABC3 is part of the DALS Plus library. Again, the full kit is actually quite a bit less than the cost of the manipulative set, so you would be saving a good bit of money that way. However, if your district does not have DALS Plus, both the manipulative set and the record forms must be purchased at full price. So while the test itself is administered using those physical materials, Q Global scoring is included with your DALS subscription. So both DALS and DALS Plus districts would have that benefit. So once you've completed the assessment, you can score and generate reports digitally. And in addition to the one-on-one assessment, the MABC3 also includes a behavior checklist rating scale. And this can be fully administered and scored on Q Global, and your access is included with the basic DALS subscription. And then finally, while we're looking ahead for the 26-27 school year and beyond, we have several new assessments that are going to be released. The BASC-4 is slated for launch in 2026, followed by the SELF-6 and the WISC-6 in 2027. All three of these tools will be available to you digitally through Q Interactive or Q Global as part of your digital assessment library subscription. Because these updates are already covered in your DALL subscription, you won't need to allocate significant funds to adopt these new additions. Remember, as Theo mentioned earlier, as soon as these are released on our platforms, you as a DALS district have unlimited use of them. However, you may want to plan ahead for two potential reasons and two potential expenses. If you do have practitioners that would prefer the physical kits for assessment, you obviously would need to buy those print kits. However, again, they're not necessary for using Q Global and Q Interactive for them. You might also want to consider training for clinicians to ensure smooth implementation and proper use of these updated tools. So keeping in mind now and budgeting for those for the future can help ensure a seamless transition when these new assessments launch. And with that, we've actually reached the end of our presentation here. So I want to thank you so much for attending our DALS Back to School webinar. We hope that you found it helpful and informative. And I can see here that we've got a handful of minutes here for some questions. So Kim, is there anything that came through the Q&A that you'd like for us to address to the group? Or are there any new questions that have come through?
Um, so I'm just going to look through a couple of things. I think we do want to clarify with Q Interactive that iPads are needed for administration on QI.
Yes, so two iPads are required for administration when using the Q Interactive Assess app. It is only available on the iPad systems, so you will need to use iPads only as far as tablets go, and two of them are required for administration.
It's important too to note, Tyler, that's not included when you purchase DALS or Q
That's right.
Interactive.
Good point.
You're not getting the iPads; those are purchased separately. But a lot of times, Apple will do discounts with school districts, and honestly, there's a lot of good deals that you can do even like on Amazon. And it doesn't have to be a platinum edition of an iPad. It can be just a basic iPad. There's just basic requirements of what it needs to have, so you don't need to spend $600 on an iPad.
There was a question about speech pathology tests that come with included record forms. There was some confusion about Self-5 receives record forms, but I don't see this on the dolls. The Self-5, the observation forms are available with your digital assessment library subscription. The actual record form is essentially part of Q Interactive. You have a digital record form with Q Interactive. So the print forms for the Self-5, the actual protocol is not included with your digital assessment library, but those ancillary forms, the observation scales are included. There was another question about our individual assessment personnel able to purchase their own training, not as a district expense. Yes, you certainly can. The per user trainings are certainly open to all qualified users of Pearson assessments. So if you are interested in enrolling in one of those sessions, you can certainly access it by going to our training page and signing up for the date that works best for you. There have been a couple of questions about recordings, and it's my understanding that recordings are typically available on our website within 2 to 4 weeks from the date of the session.
Right. And there is a question that I noticed here, Kim, that I wanted to acknowledge, which says, for the Whisk 5, if we use the dolls complete form, are they still free and part of the membership, or do we pay for physical copies? And so I want to clarify because it can get a little bit confusing here with what's included with the dolls and what isn't. And so when it comes to an assessment like the Whisk 5 that's available on Q Interactive, with the dolls, you will have digital access to that assessment through Q Interactive, and you'll be able to place no charge orders for the response booklets that are still needed for assessment, as well as the block sets if you don't have them. The record forms are not included with for the Q Interactive assessments because they're not needed for assessment. The iPad acts as the digital record form. So you're able to place those no charge orders for the response booklets, but let's say you have a practitioner that doesn't want to use the iPad system, even though you have dolls, you would have to still then purchase record forms for them. They'd still benefit from digital scoring and digital manuals and things like that, but you would still need to purchase their record forms for them. And in addition, the dolls and the dolls plus don't come with physical full kits. If that's still needed in the district, if someone's not wanting to assess digitally, you would still have to purchase those full physical kits. If you have base dolls, that would come at the full price, but if you have the dolls plus add-on, you would be able to get those at 65% off.
There's a question on here about the Bot 3, and since it came out in June 2024, they're wanting to know if the second edition is still valid and when is it required to move to the third edition. Generally speaking, the rule of thumb is within a year that an evaluation, a new version comes out, that you make that transition. And also note that the Bot 2, all the scoring on Q Global, that's going to be sunset, I believe, in February. So after that point, if you were still using a Bot 2, you're going to have to hand score it because there's not going to be any digital scoring for it. So it's probably something that you're going to want to transition to the Bot 3 in the near future. All right, any other questions?
Here. One thing too, if we could add it right here before the end, April or Kim, could we put the link to the assessment consultants webpage so that everyone can find their own? I just noticed that as a question a second ago. I did see here when I put an order in on the Dolls Plus form, I could not find the Whisk 5 response booklets. So there's two different no charge order forms for Dolls districts that have Dolls and Dolls Plus. One is your basic Dolls startup and no charge order form. They're used when you initially go with the Dolls, and then you can place those orders afterwards through it. And that's for like your assessments that are digital. Think of it that way, like your Q Interactive assessments that need those response booklets. If it's so that's where you'll find the Whisk 5 response booklets is on the basic dolls form. The dolls plus form is used for ordering the booklets that for assessments that we don't have a true digital version of. So that would be something like the KBIT 2 revised, or the KBC 2 in U, or the PLS 5, for example. That you would go to the plus form to order those.
All right, we look like we are at time. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. If possible, Kim has that posted for your assessment consultant. If you do have further questions, you can reach out to them. You can also reach out to customer service if need be. They're always a good help as well. You can email, call any of your assessment consultants. That information is going to be on the assessment consultant page that Kim will link. And with that, I wish everyone a wonderful back to school and hopefully a smooth 25-26 school year.
Thanks, everyone.